Ring Out Podcast, mother. What's going on, man? I go by the name of Papo Jr. I put the Junior back in Papo because I don't know, it sounds better to be honest. Paul Heyman hated working with these wrestlers. This video is by Stun by Wrestling. Like I keep saying, go subscribe to this channel. They got great content there. Go check them out on your own time. Today, I'm reacting to this. Paul Heyman, one of the managerial goats out here, bro. People say Bobby the Brain Heenan is the fucking GOAT. He number one. Y'all can debate on that. I grew up with Paul Heyman because of Brock Lesnar and all that, man. ECW days, running ECW. I don't know too much. I know who's Paulie Dangerous, but I don't know too much about him. But we're about to find. I hope we find out here. Let's see what's up. Anything else? Nah, man. Go subscribe to him, bro. Stun by Wrestling. His team, whoever. Like I said, great contact. Check out his other shit out as well. But this caught my attention. He just dropped this, so yeah, man. Anything else? Nah. Let's get it. Let's get it, cuz.
Paul Heyman has one of wrestling's most brilliant minds and one of its most impossible personalities. He spent his whole career rubbing people up the wrong way, but every now and then someone does the same to him. Back in 1992, Bill Watts was one of those people. Heyman was already a well-established character in WCW at this point. He was managing the Dangerous Alliance, but he was also doing commentary and working behind the scenes too. Heyman was an important part of the promotion. That was until Bill Watts showed up. He was brought in to run WCW as executive vice president, and he hated everything Heyman stood for. In his eyes, Heyman was a loudmouth punk who got paid way too much and didn't respect the business. And according to multiple reports, he also made it.
Look at Ravish. Yo, this dude was shredded, bro. I'm gonna find a video of Ravish and Rick Rude, man. I heard a lot of great shit about him, bro. Seriously. Look at Stunning Steve back here, man. I believe this was the Hollywood Blonde days as well. Or was it the Dangerous Alliance? Probably before the Hollywood Blondes with Paul, or with, what's his name? Brian Pillman. Look at Stunning Steve, man. With blonde hair, bro. Shit. Nowadays. Stone Cold Steve Austin. But yo, I don't know what the hell he's talking. I mean, that's in his eyes, with Bill Watts' eyes. Because from the clips that I see, even though I'm not listening to the audio of what he's saying, he looks passionate about the business. Because he's playing his role, you know? And I never heard that about Paul Heyman, saying that he didn't know about the business. And I don't know about getting paid too much at that time. Maybe he deserved it at that time. I don't know.
Deeply personal. Heyman has said in interviews that he'd never experienced real anti-Semitism in wrestling until he worked under Bill Watts. Watts allegedly hurled anti-Semitic slurs at Heyman backstage, calling him a Jew fucker and referring to him and Medusa as the Jew and the cunt in front of other staff. But Heyman didn't just sit back and take it. During one meeting backstage, he reportedly brought in a printout of an old interview that Watts did with the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter, where he defended racial segregation, arguing that private business owners should be allowed to refuse service to black customers. According to witnesses, Watts exploded in response and fired off another bunch of anti-Semitic slurs at Heyman, this time in front of the entire meeting room. Not long after that, Heyman was fired. The official reason was falsified expense reports, but according to Dave Meltzer, Heyman responded by filing a lawsuit for wrongful termination and ethnic discrimination with WCW. The case was reportedly settled out of court, and while the terms were never disclosed, it's believed the payout was for a significant amount of money. Some say that it gave Heyman the finances he needed to take over and rebrand Eastern Championship Wrestling into Extreme Championship Wrestling. And by 1990...
Wow, bro. Paid off for this dude, man. Even though they were still struggling with the finance in ECW, they made a name, bro. ECW is still talked about to this day, bro. People are still watching the matches to this day from back then. People are still talking about One Night Stand, bro. Both. Was that 05 and 06? I think 05 for me was my favorite. Those were fucking good times. I was in 5th grade at that time, bro. Those were fucking fun times, man. Seriously. Because those ECW cross, and that was here at the Hammerstein, bro. It paid off, man. Still financial struggles during ECW, but still, man, it paid off.
97, Heyman had transformed ECW.
They didn't pay it off, but it paid off type shit.
ECW into something special. It was now a violent, renegade alternative to the WWF. It was a
different time back then.
That year, as part of a storyline between the two companies, ECW invaded Monday Night Raw, and right in the middle of it, you could feel the tension between Heyman and Jerry Lawler. And the hate between the two men wasn't just for TV. It was real, and it went back to the late 80s when Heyman was working for Lawler in his Memphis territory as a manager. He was managing Austin Idol and Tommy Rich during their feud with Lawler, which was one of the biggest angles in Memphis at the time. The whole thing had been built up over weeks, with Heyman constantly getting involved, and the crowd were whipped up into a frenzy, wanting to see him get his ass whipped. To pay the feud off, Lawler booked a scaffold match. The plan was for Heyman to climb up the scaffold with him, where he'd either take a bump or beg for mercy in front of the crowd. But Heyman refused to do it. He told Lawler that he wasn't comfortable with heights and he didn't want to risk climbing up there. And so, after all those weeks, the payoff never happened, and Lawler said that it completely killed the angle. He also claimed that they ended up getting into a fight backstage over it, and that he was so angry that he punched Heyman. From that point on, their relationship was never the same. Years later, when ECW showed up on Monday Night Raw, that tension came back to the surface. Lawler spent the entire time burying ECW on commentary, calling it garbage, mocking the wrestlers, and treating Heyman like it was a joke. But Heyman was right there at the desk with him, and he fired right back, saying that Lawler's style was outdated and calling him a relic from a dead era. But during that invasion storyline, ECW was at the height of its power as a real alternative to WCW and the WWF, and it had a cult following of devoted fans. But just a few years later, and the cracks were starting to show. Running a wrestling company at that level meant big expenses, and the money wasn't coming in fast enough to cover any of it. Heyman was a creative genius, but as a businessman, he was out of his depth. He was struggling to pay the roster, and his wrestlers were starting to leave the company. Raven, Shane Douglas, Taz, the Dudley Boys, even the likes of Mikey Whipwreck and the Sandman all left ECW to go to WCW and the WWF. Even Tommy Dreamer, the most loyal guy in the company, was holding things together with hopes and prayers. By the year 2000, the majority of the locker room had lost faith in Heyman. And that's when Mike Awesome walked out of the company too, while he was still the world champion. And then, with no warning, he showed up on WCW Nitro. According to Awesome himself, his ECW contract had expired and he hadn't been paid for months. He said that he refused to sign a new contract until Heyman paid him what he was owed. When that didn't happen, he went to WCW. So you can argue that Awesome was just looking after himself, and he was, but for Heyman, it didn't matter. The guy he'd trusted had walked out while he was still the champion during ECW's darkest hour. Heyman fired back, threatening legal action, claiming that Awesome was still under contract, and he demanded that WCW take him off TV. Behind the scenes, WCW's legal team didn't take that very seriously. According to Eric Bischoff, Heyman was bluffing and there wasn't a signed ECW contract.
Yeah, it was expired.
Just verbal agreements and handshakes.
Yeah, it was like you said, it was expired, man. Like, what the hell you fucking suing him for? Like, wrestlers, they follow their fucking contract. They ain't that stupid. Like, shit. I'm not, well, there's some that are, they're all bronze and no brain, but come on, when it comes to contract and their money, they're not fucking around with that.
Heyman struck a deal with the WWF to bring Taz back to ECW for one night, just long enough to beat Awesome and get the world title off him. 5 years later, and WWE presented an ECW tribute show called One Night Stand. Heyman himself was given free rein to book the show, and despite any possible animosity, he hired Mike Awesome to wrestle Masato Tanaka. The crowd that night was full of rabid ECW fans, and they booed Awesome out of the building. Ooh. Not because he was a heel, but because they all remembered.
I didn't know nothing about that back then. So when I was watching this match when I was a youngin', I didn't think that much, like, you know, because I wasn't watching ECW when I was a kid, bro. I knew about it. My cousins was watching, but they were casuals, you know. They were casual wrestling fans. They were watching the Attitude Era and stuff like that. Now they don't watch it no more. They grew out, I grew in type shit. But when I was watching at that time One Night Stand, I was just there to see my fucking WWE superstars, you know? And I didn't think, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was just watching it. And damn, bro. The fans, they said the internet never forgets. Loyal fans, they don't forget either, man. They don't forget either, bro.
How Mike Awesome walked out of the company while still holding the world title.
And that's the thing. That's something promoters need to stop fucking doing, Tony Khan. Fucking just changing shit and expect people just to fucking forget. There's gonna be fucking, the sickos quickly forget. Others, the real ones, the real wrestling fans, we don't forget shit, bro. We don't forget shit. Why is this happening if this, you didn't pay this off type shit? Like, y'all gotta stop that.
It's possible that Heyman only brought Awesome back in order to humiliate him in front of a hostile crowd. By the early 2000s, Heyman had lost ECW, but Vince McMahon still recognised his creative genius. He brought Heyman onto the WWE creative team, first writing for SmackDown.
That was smart from Vince, man. I need your brain, bro. Get your ass over here. You suck at business. Just make me money with your creative fucking mindset, you know. In the creative department, bro. But when it comes to finance and business, fuck off.
Then later,
like what he said on that promo, before they went out there, Vince told them, "Yo, just make me money. Give me everything you got." And that promo, that segment with McMahon and Paul Heyman, Heyman let him have it, bro. No, Heyman gave it to him. I said it right? I don't know. But yeah, I remember that fucking promo.
Contributing to Raw. Raw's head writer at the time was Brian Gewirtz. He came from a traditional writing background and liked things to be scripted and structured in a very orderly way, as if he was writing for a Hollywood TV show. Heyman, on the other hand, had a looser approach to writing wrestling shows. He wanted the wrestlers to feel like real people, not actors reciting dialogue. So when these two were expected to coexist backstage, it went exactly how you'd expect it to. Heyman would do things like phone into Raw meetings when he wasn't supposed to, and he'd openly question Gewirtz's judgment on things. But those kinds of disagreements quickly escalated. In his book, Gewirtz talks about a time on Vince McMahon's private jet when Heyman challenged him to a fight, and Vince looked genuinely disappointed.
The scripting, Gewirtz's vision, Paul Heyman's vision. I really like Paul Heyman's vision because I want to see the. There's some people that needs guidance. Miz said it himself. He needs the guidance. He needs the scripts and all that. There's some people that don't need it. Give me an example. Fatu don't need it. Fatu doesn't need it, bro. When I see Fatu speaking, giving out a fucking promo, I legit believe that's him, bro. Type shit. Who else? Cena could go out there. Cena could do scripts and beat himself. He doesn't need a script. Give him some fucking bullet points and he'll nail it, bro. Cody, he takes the easy route, bro. Brings his father. It always brings up his father. Kisses asses to the fucking fans. Like, bro, I need some realism from you, bro. Who else? Randy could do it. Script and or being real. Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is a real one to me. You feel me? Kevin Owens is the one that he's like one of us that wants to say something like the way we spew our like frustrations when we're watching this weekly television. You know, he expresses us the same way. Sami Zayn is another one as well. Like you feel that passion from when they on the mic, bro. Like you feel that shit, bro. Who else? Yeah, get what I'm trying to say. I like the Paul Heyman vision. Just give the wrestler some bullet points on what they're gonna talk about, and that's it. When they have a story, when they got a storyline with somebody, they got a program with somebody, they can go along, you know, they could ping pong each other back and forth. The scripted shit, like you could see how fake it is, man. You could actually feel it, and you just doesn't feel authentic. Doesn't feel like come on, I'm not feeling you right now, and everybody sounds the same, bro. You could tell who needs a script and who doesn't. You feel me? I like the Paul Heyman vision to be honest, but I get the Brian Goldworth's, you know, his vision, but I prefer the Paul Heyman, man.
When Brian said no,
it makes wrestling feel a little bit more real, and we all know it's predetermined, but it feels so real and it's enjoyable. You feel me? It's great like that. I really enjoyed the last promo battle with Cena and Cody Rhodes in London. That was a good promo battle right there. Seriously.
At some point, the tension between the men boiled over into a physical confrontation where they
like you two. Brian Goldworth is too Hollywood, which means it's all fantasy, it's all fake and shit like that. When Paul Heyman, he's from New York, bro. We too real out here, man.
Started slapping each other, and Stephanie McMahon ended up stepping in and suspending both of them. Heyman didn't make many friends in the writers' room, but his biggest battle behind the scenes was with the boss himself, Vince McMahon. After ECW collapsed, Heyman joined WWE full-time. He replaced Jerry Lawler on commentary in 2001, and he was eventually brought onto the creative team. At first, he was mostly involved with SmackDown, where he helped create the most successful period in the brand's history. But his ideas were constantly getting overruled or watered down, and he got frustrated because Vince had the final say on all of his storylines. And despite the success he was having writing the show, Vince started stripping away his influence. He was quick to give Paul power, but he also seemed to enjoy taking it away from him. And frustratingly for Paul, that happened multiple times over the next few years. In 2006, WWE relaunched the ECW brand, and Heyman was given the reins. Well, for a short amount of time. Again, he found a lot of his decisions being overruled, despite being promised that the brand was basically his. For example, Heyman wanted to push CM Punk, but Vince chose Bobby Lashley instead. Heyman wanted grit and realism on the show, just like the original ECW, but Vince insisted on having dumb gimmicks and scripted promos on the show.
Oh, hell no.
At the December to December...
This shit right here, this ECW relaunch, I remember watching it. I was disappointed. Bro. And then they fucking brought out a brand new ECW silver fucking title belt. McMahon was a fucking champ. That Bobby Lashley reign was no, that wasn't it, bro. Because it wasn't ECW. Y'all trying to polish some shit that is not supposed to be polished. Man. This shit is supposed to be gritty and dark, and edgy. The WWE version of ECW ain't it. It wasn't it, bro. Y'all got me polishing something that don't fix when it ain't broken, bro. I know it went out of business. But people know ECW for what it is, bro. Extreme. And you polishing it, bringing out fucking um people like Bobby Lashley and them guys, bro. Big Show. Like, nah. Wasn't working, bro. I don't think not even Kurt Angle.
Pay-per-view, Heyman and Vince clashed hard. Heyman wanted to protect CM Punk in the Elimination Chamber main event, but Vince overruled him once again. According to multiple accounts, Heyman blew up backstage and screamed in Vince's face. A few days later, he was sent home. No official firing, he was just gone. That was the biggest falling out between them, and it never fully healed. Even as late as 2020, the pattern continued. Vince made Heyman executive director of Raw, and for a while he had real power backstage. But Vince didn't like how the show was being run by Heyman, and so he started rewriting Heyman's scripts and totally ignored all of his long-term plans. It didn't take long before Vince pulled the plug and Bruce Pritchard replaced Heyman instead. Heyman called Vince the greatest wrestling promoter in history, but he also said that Vince burned out everyone around him and that he only ever surrounded himself with yes men.
Yes, man, yes.
And if there's one
giving
thing
him
that
what he
Paul
wanted.
Heyman has never been, it's an ass kisser.
Yeah, man. I believe Paul Heyman is all behind the bloodline shit. And look what we've seen with the bloodline storylines, bro, ever since it started. Fucking great television, bro. It was great television, man. I believed in Paul Heyman's vision very much. I believed in wrestlers they should have because being real, it brings out the charisma that we all look forward to in a wrestler. Because if you're not good on the mic, but you're good in the ring, we ain't gonna click. This is weekly television, bro. You gotta make us feel, bro. Not just in ring. You feel me? That's what all elite wrestling lacks of, bro. Superstars. I don't feel shit. That restore the feeling shit is bullshit, bro. I don't feel anything when it comes to all elite wrestling. They don't have that kind of superstar, bro. Everything, like Bret Hart said, nowadays professional wrestling, everybody's being an actor. They're acting like pro wrestlers, bro. Seriously, everybody's doing the same shit. Everybody talks the same, speaks the same. And it's just like, come on, bro. We need something different. WWE, they're dealing with the same shit as well. The same thing. A lot of wrestlers, they all speak the same. Great in the ring. They all speak the same. No charisma. Oh, I'm happy to be here and can't wait to face the competition and all that. I look forward to the competition. Stop it, bro. Ain't nobody want to hear that shit. You see what the fuck I'm doing? Except with the fuck part? That's what the fuck you want. You want to big people feel, bro. Seriously, man. Hey, come on, bro. I don't want to put her out there, but I have to use her as an example. Lyra Valkyria. How you gonna put her women's intercontinental champion, the first one? I feel nothing. Great wrestler, bro. I enjoy watching her in the ring, but when she gets on the mic, ooh, turn the TV off. Seriously, or put the volume down, go to the bathroom type shit, because I'm not feeling nothing from this girl, bro. They need to work on her, bro, because she's great in the ring, man. She's a great woman. She's a great wrestler. But that's a great example of what I mean about I'm not feeling you and don't care. Because if I don't feel you in the mic, if I don't feel that passion coming from you, I'm barely going to care enough in your in-ring work. Seriously, man. I didn't mean to do that, but I had to use that as an example what I'm talking about. And then Paul Heyman's vision, It's exactly what we really need, bro. And over the years, he has matured enough. So I'm like, all right, bam, boom. Paul Heyman had he had hope. Like I remember, I will never forget that video, that clip. I think Paul Heyman was speaking to Will Ospreay in some ceremony shit. I don't know. He saw something in Will Ospreay, but then Will Ospreay chose to go to AEW. I see it in my, I see it as well. When Will Ospreay speaks on the mic, like I hear that passion coming out of him, but he still needs that guidance on where he needs to be to make it to the top. He already got the in-ring work, but he needs to dumb. To be honest, I like how WWE dumbs wrestlers like maybe that has the skill level as a Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega, dumb it down a little bit because you're giving too much on a weekly basis. For what? Save those special moves for times that really do matter, like on a pay-per-view, on a blow-off feud or something. All Elite Wrestling, they're giving way too much on a weekly basis, and it's just like, okay, this is the normal shit now. Can y'all do something way better than what you do? No, that's it. Their skill, like showing off their skill level, what they do right now is like is bringing it down even more. Like we're expecting more now. That's why it's good WWE dumbing them down on their wrestling, on their in-ring work. So we could feel special when you really turn it up a notch. You feel me? And yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, I appreciate you, man. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, comment down below. How you feel about my comments of what I, talked about and stuff like that. Any comments about Paul Heyman? Anybody else that he didn't mention stuff about wrestling? He didn't mention that he didn't like working with. Any memories about Paul Heyman that you he hasn't spoken about? Things like that. Yeah, man, comment down below, man. I'm here. I'll interact with you guys. And anything else? Nah, man. Till next time.
Goodbye. Mwah, and good night, bang.
Peace.